All right. So we're on Rule 76. This is allowance or disallowance of a will. So this is probate, basically, no? So what is probate? It is the act of proving the validity by way of the due execution and the complete adherence to the formal requisites and solemnities in the creation of a will, no? What is its purpose? Its purpose is so that it may be officially recognized and be given effect, registered, and so the provisions therein, once it's already recognized and registered, may be carried out. So that's the point of the probate of a will. So probate of a will, much like any other special proceedings, much like any other case, no, it does have certain procedural requirements. So let's look at first, no, the question on when can it be filed. Okay, the rule is it can be filed at any time. It does not prescribe, meaning your cause of action for the probate of a will does not have a reglementary period or a time limit. It can be filed at any time. Okay, right? But put a pin on that because the next thing that we will discuss is who may file a petition for the allowance or probate of a will. The answer to that question is any interested person, including the executor, devices, legatees named in the will, any other heirs, no? They may actually file it, no, anytime after the death of the testator. So this is why I want you to put a pin on the concept of any time when we discuss the reglementary period. Because how can it be any time if in terms of the persons who can file, no, a petition for probate, na naman daytay requirement kat it has to be after the death of the testator. Well, the answer to that is that it is actually reconcilable by the fact that the testator himself actually has the ability to file the probate or ask the court for probate during his lifetime. So even before his death. That's why it's any time. No, because if it's before the death, no, so it's pre-mortem probate will, probate of a will, then the testator is the only one that can be allowed to make that petition, and he can do that before his death. Of course, after his death, he cannot do that because he's already dead, no? And so all these interested persons, executor, legacy, legatee, devisee, they can file it at any time also, but after the death. So there's still no expiration period, but they must do it after the death. Okay. So so going back to these persons, no, I think it's important to look into the concept of person who is interested in the estate. So an interested person. An interested person here is going back to our general rule on a real party, no, an interest. So an interested party is under our general rules of procedure is any person who is affected, no, by the outcome of our proceedings, no? In this case, no, the interested party being looked at is any person who would be benefited by the estate, such as an heir. But that's so general, right? Benefited by the estate. Because you remember that when we are coming up with the estate, it is not just who will receive the estate, but we also question what is the estate made up of. And you can recall in our succession law that the estate is made up of all the properties at the time of the death, no? Minus all the debts that are to be paid, because the death of a debtor does not necessarily mean that there is no longer any remedy for the creditor to take back what is due to him because the creditor has an action against the estate. In short, the creditor is actually considered as a interested party. Okay? So very, very important also that we consider that our probate, no, is by way of a petition. No, because it is, di ba, special proceedings man ta. So it is by way of a petition. And so there are also formal requisites as to the petition. So I'll give that to Shane to discuss what are the formal requirements, no? Ang mga dapat content of a petition for the allowance of a will. Now, one important content requirement is the statement of the jurisdictional facts. So, Shane, also include in your answer what are these jurisdictional facts that must be alleged in the petition. Mind you, nigawas na ni siya sa bar nga question. Ha? Kanang jurisdictional facts. Okay? Right? So, but of course, we also know where already, right? Because we discussed that in the previous lecture, in the previous video, the pecuniary, no, or the monetary valuation that is going to be the basis for whether or not it goes to the MTC or the RTC. Now, we've already discussed that, okay? Please take note of the new one, the 2024, if I'm not mistaken, now that expanded the jurisdiction of our uh, uh, lower courts, no? Okay. All right. Okay. What is the nature of probate proceedings? Okay. Probate proceedings are proceedings in rem. That is their nature. What does that mean? Once you've complied with the publication requirement, no, the judgment becomes binding upon everybody, not just the heirs, not just the named creditors. No, it becomes binding against everybody, even against the state. No, therefore, the probate of a will, no, done by a court with proper jurisdiction, of course, becomes conclusive as to the fact of its due execution and validity. Right? So, if you can recall our class on the rules on evidence, remember that there are conclusive presumptions by reason of res judicata. This is a good example of that, but very specific, that once you have a final decision on probate, it becomes conclusive as to its due execution and validity. No? Okay? All right. Okay. Okay. Now, how about a testate or intestate settlement of the deceased estate? Do we also have the same? Yes, we also have the same. No, it's also the same. It is in RAM, and therefore public notice, no, by publication becomes already sufficient because it's also in RAM. No, it is of the same rule. No. No, so we look at section 3 specifically on that matter. Okay, so do you require personal notice? Do you have to tell when each and every heir, no, that you are doing this settlement, that you are doing this partition? The answer is no. There is no requirement for a personal notice anymore. All right, there is no requirement for a personal notice. Do you need to notify each and every creditor in the settlement of the estate? The answer is no. What we need to do is publication because again, it is still in REM. Okay? Now, going back to probate. Probate proceedings na atay hearing gid ana, correct? Mag-hearing gid ta ana siya, right? So, how do we go about making sure that uh, every person who has a right to participate is duly informed, no? Okay? Other than the fact that you have to make a publication as to the probate proceedings, no? The heirs, legacies, and devices, no? Your interested persons, no? Have to also be informed of the time and the place of the proceedings themselves. The actual hearing, we're talking about the actual hearing, not just the fact of the probate, no? The actual hearing itself, right? Okay, so they have to be notified, okay? But how about when the probate proceedings is pre-mortem? Well, under Section 4 of the rules, it's quite clear. Dili kailangan nga tanang mga creditors, heir, legacies, devices i-inform. Only the compulsory heirs ang padalan og notice. Okay? If it is pre-mortem. No? or antemortem rather. Okay. Okay. All right. So again, when you have your will, when you have your probate, it's about determining whether or not katong tanan nga atong na-discuss sa succession na comply to siya. No? Question. Are you able to do that if the will is lost or destroyed? Are you able to do that if the will is lost or destroyed? The answer is physically no, right? Physically no. However, under our rules, we have that. So I want you guys to go to section 6, Rule 76, section 6 of our rules of special proceedings, because those are the rules, no, it outlines the requisites in order that a lost or destroyed will may be allowed or probated. It is extraordinary. These are special procedure, no? Okay. So I want Ma'am Violet to be the one to answer that, no? What are our requirements, no? The requisites and the procedure in the probate of a lost or destroyed will. Okay? Just take note of that. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. Now you have the publication requirement, no? The reason for that is we want to make sure that people have knowledge of specific circumstances surrounding the will, may be able to bring about or to bring to the court that knowledge, right? And there are times that those knowledge actually form part of the opposition against the will because the will was invalidly executed, etc., etc. So what will happen then? Well, what will happen then is what we call an opposition to the will. When a will is contested, no, several persons or a person may file an opposition, questioning and challenging the validity of the will. Now, but remember that the validity here is in terms of the forms and solemnities only. It's due execution only. No? And therefore, the best persons to actually testify to that fact are our instrumental witnesses. Therefore, when a will, when the probate is contested, no, Section 11 of Rule 76 provides that all the subscribing or instrumental witness and the notary public have to go to court. No, that is the requirement. No, what if he's dead? What if he or she is outside the jurisdiction of the Philippines? What if he or she has become insane? Should they be brought to court? The answer is no, they need not be brought to court, but that is again extraordinary. You have to prove that they are incapable of coming to court. No? But once there is an opposition, they are all required to be present. Okay? Does that mean that they all have to agree? As to the due execution, as to the fact that they were all present when they signed the will in front of each other in before the testator. What if there is one person who nga musimang? Does that mean automatically the will cannot be probated? The answer is no. No? In Baltazar versus Laksa, the Supreme Court already settled that. Yan ang sa Baltazar versus Laksa nga, well, it doesn't matter if one person might contradict the narrative so long as there is sufficient proof that the requirements under the law are complied with, the desistance of one witness may not be fatal to the cause of probate. Ana siya. Okay? You can recall also that we have two types of wills, correct? A holographic will and a notarial will. We've been talking about a notarial will, no? Because naghisgot taog, notary public, subscribing witnesses, that only happens in a notarial will. But how about a holographic will? A holographic will does not have a notary public. It does not have subscribing witnesses. But I will tell you, the rules of court require for 3 witnesses also. Why is that the case? Nga naman nga, wala may witness dapat ang holographic will because it is made independent of anyone else, only dated, signed in the hand of the testator himself. So wala witness nga gi-require. In fact, di ba kung naay maglain-laing sulat, that could affect the validity of the will? Oh, what will happen then? Anong witnesses? The answer for that is that the witnesses are not actually witnesses to the will. They're not witnesses to the will. They are actually witnesses to the handwriting of the testator. Because remember, in order to determine the validity, no, the truthfulness, the authenticity of a holographic will, it is a matter of determining whether or not it was actually in the hand of the testator. So how will we prove that? We can prove that by, or we are required to prove that by at least 3 witnesses who know the handwriting of the testator. So usually what I will request from my client is bring me the secretary, bring me a subordinate, no? Bring me his partner, her partner, no? Office mate, workmate, kay kani man sila ang sigig makakita sa handwriting, di ba? Kaysa sa balay, unsa may mga instances nga magbasahan ng handwriting, no? But then I also say ayoko dali-an ang mga lagyo na pud kaayo. Like elementary school teacher. Mingon ang client niya, kana siya, kay mo dyan katudlo mo sulat. The answer is no. Why? Because it has to be a person who knows the handwriting of the testator more or less contemporaneous to the execution of the holographic will. Around the time because handwriting changes. Right? So it has to be a person who knows the handwriting at that time. Okay? But what if you can't find? Well, the rules explicitly say pwede ang handwriting expert, no, nga mo testify on that matter. When you become lawyers, no, your seniors will teach you how to procure a court certified handwriting expert. We usually get that from the PNP system. Di lang tamo ingnan. How? Okay, mataas na ato ang discussion. Okay. Rule 77 na ta. Okay, Rule 77, no? In your conflict of laws or private international law, we have there one specific worksheet on succession law, no? And part anang a worksheet gipangutana, no? Can a will nga gi-execute sa in a foreign land according to foreign or in foreign nga mga forms and solemnities, can it be given effect in the Philippines? The answer is yes, no? It is quite normal that we have Filipinos abroad. When they execute, of course, no, the rule is forms and solemnities of the place, 'di ba? Forms and solemnities of the place. Can we probate that, especially if the properties that are to be disposed are here in the Philippines? Can we probate that will? The answer is yes. You can have it probated. In the same worksheet in your conflict of laws, there was also a question. What if the will is probated there? Kay daato gud siya nag-reside. So masayon niya daato nga ma-probate ang will. Is that going to be, will that affect, no, the distribution of properties here in the Philippines? The answer is no. Why? Because although the will is probated, it has to be reprobated in the Philippines to affect the properties in the Philippines. Right? No? Because our rule is probate, kung ganahan kay carry out within the jurisdiction of the Philippines, iba siyang i-probate under our rules, no? But again, it is merely a reprobate, no? No? Reprobate lang. Naatay procedure, ana. O si effects niya? Well, once it is reprobated, no? It will be as if it was allowed in the Philippines as well. Okay? It is important to remember our rules and evidence nga dili pwede nga ang ato ang pagkuan when we have uh, a decisions of foreign courts, dili na siya automatic nga effective diri sa Pilipinas. Nga naman, because of the fact that we cannot take cognizance of foreign laws and decisions, certificates coming from foreign courts are based on foreign law. So we have to prove, no, foreign law in the Philippines. Okay? So that is also a consideration why we have to do reprobate. Okay? Required ba nga na probate daan di ato? What if mo diretso tag probate diri? The answer is pwede ra gyud idiretso probate diri sa Pilipinas. And that is my usual advice. If ang properties kasagaran diri na lang i-probate, no? Without any prejudice to a probate in foreign countries, no, you can always use the probate in the Philippines in other countries. There are other countries nga dili na kailangan i-reprobate, naa lang sila yung requirement nga ipa-apostle lang ang decree, happy na sila. But in the Philippines, wa mo taan na. So reprobate yun ang ato ang requirement here. But we do not require prior probate of a foreign will para ma-probate sa Pilipinas, dili na siya required, no? But of course, again, nga naman kailangan ka mag-probate, no? The answer is we want the probate, no? We want the probate in the Philippines because that is the only time it will affect properties in the Philippines. Okay? Let's look at Rule 78. Letters of testamentary and of administration. Okay? So, who may administer the estate of the deceased? Okay? Who? It is the executor or the administrator, right? It is the executor or administrator. How do we know these persons? Okay? First, when a person dies nga wala siya will or intestate, no? Or if testate siya but wala siya nag-name og executor, no? Or what if ang name ng executor nahimog incompetent, dili gusto mag-execute, no, etc., etc., because you have to post a bond manggod, no? Kay maghawid good ka og property sa lain. So there has to be a bond, no? Then the decedent's estate shall be judicially administered, and the competent court shall appoint an administrator. Rule 78, Section 6. Okay? Rule 78, Section 6. Huh? Nonetheless, executor, to simplify, named, administrator, when no one is named or the person dies intestate, the court appoints. Okay, who are considered to be incompetent to serve as executors or administrators? Obviously, minors. Dili pud pwede gi-exclude sa tong rules gyud jud if dili ka resident sa Philippines. Ikaduha, if the opinion of the court, no, is that you are unfit, no, because you are not a good person or you are not known to have integrity, palahubog ka, no, you are convicted of a crime involving moral turpitude. Okay. Say for example, no, because when you are an executor, you become the caretaker. It creates a trust upon you. You get to manage the property. You get to determine nga pasweldoan pug ka. Naadjud na siya yung fruits and benefits. You can use the property for the benefit of the estate, etc., etc., di ba? But what if you have, just for example, and I'm going to ask this question to Liorabel Rosales. Interesting question lang yun. Weird question lang. What if si testator has an executor. Si executor niya si Ana. Right? Si Ana ang iya ang favorite sister. Okay? Si Ana sad, naabot siya will, ang iya ang executor, ang iya ang anak nga of legal age na, let's say 30 years old. Okay? Unfortunately, the first testator, and Ana, they died simultaneously. Okay? Question nako is, can ang anak ni Ana is the anak of Ana become the executor of Ana? And then since the anak of Ana is the executor of Ana, and Ana is the executor of the first testator's estate, does it mean nga ang anak ni Ana mausad ang executor sa first testator? Try to answer that. Ha? Try to answer that. Okay? All right. May a married woman serve as an executor? Yes. No. kani siya nga question ako ning gi-raise because sa karaan nato nga mga kuan, sa atong karaan nga civil code, ang woman cannot, no, na ay kuan nga, iya ang ownership of a property is not in full ownership pero giwala na nato siya, ha? All right. But this rule is actually on letters of testamentary and letters testamentary and letters of administration. What are they? Okay? Letters testamentary, mo ni siya ang authority gud nga gihatag sa executor. Letters of administration is the authority issued to an administrator. Just to clarify. No? All right. I think ang importante lang gid ani is kaning pag-determine nato sa ato ang administration, no? Administrator, ang court man ang mo determine so long as you are not disqualified sa katong atong gipanghatag, right? No? Kinsa ang hatagan? Kinsa ang himong administrador? No? But please take note ha, dili ni siya kay naghatag ta og list, no? But ipasabot automatic because again, you need to get letters of administration to be an administrator. All right? Okay? First, of course, and this is an order of preference, surviving spouse. Second, if there is no surviving spouse, of course, we have next of kin. If there is next of kin, no, it may be granted now to some other person. No? It may be granted to a principal creditor. But if there is no such creditor, no, that is the only time that the court may grant it to any other person. Why is this the case? Una jud ang spouse, dahil next of kin, dahil creditors, ay mo other person. The reason for this is the rules want to ensure that the person given the administration of the property is a person who cares for the property. No, who cares for the property, who will be benefited from the continuation of the property itself. All right? Okay? So if you're a creditor, of course, mag-make sure jud ka nga mabayaran ka so dili nimo pasagdaan ang property. Right? And of course, sa family, obviously, legacy comes into play, etc., etc. All right.